Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Azure podcast with your host Sam Foote.
And Armstrong.
If you're new here, we're a pair of Azure and Microsoft 365 focused IT security professionals. It's episode 12 of season 6. Alan and I recently had a discussion around the new releases in April. Here are the few things that we covered. Key Microsoft Entra, Intune and Defender XDR features, updates and announcements. Azure changes, new features and retirements. We've noticed that a large number of you aren't subscribed. If you do enjoy our podcast, please do consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to us for you to show your support to the show. It's a really great episode, so let's get started. Hey Alan, how are you this week?
Hey Sam, not doing too bad. How are you?
Yeah, not doing too bad. Yeah, all good, thank you. All good. Anything in the cyberspace exciting going on at the moment?
There's been a few attacks on retail, M&S, Mark Spencer's, and partial co-op. And as we're doing this podcast, hear about Harrods also potentially being hit as well.
Yeah, interesting that we're now starting to see a definite, focus on, like you say, those retailers. Definitely, I haven't really seen too much. I haven't seen too much like out of the M&S attack. I haven't been following it too closely. Do we know any type of motives or anybody claiming?
I don't know about the claiming of it, but it looks, I think, from a brief extract that I've seen, is that they went for the hypervisors and took those out, or ransomwared them, which then takes the everything else out from the look of it, I think.
Yeah, I suppose that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? A high value target, a hypervisor running many different workloads. Well, fingers crossed that doesn't cause too much disruption and people's data's safe and money, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right. What we're doing this week? We're doing news for April this week.
Yeah, we managed to catch it just on the cusp of May turning up. So
yes, yeah, we're gonna have a very timely update. I think our last month update was a bit late because of various different things going on. So yeah, we're bang up to date. Do you want to kick us off, Alan?
Yeah, sure. I'll look at the sort of Defender XDR and Defender suites and Entra and Purview as well. So if we start with Defender for Identity, privileged identity tags are now visible in the Defender for Identity inventory. So now where you've got that combined all of your identities in one place, and where they've been potentially merged together, depending on SaaS service or 365 AD, etc. The tag is now visible in that inventory, whether they're privileged, rather than you having to probably dive into them. So yeah,
nice.
You've also got new integrations within Defender for Identity and previous access management systems. So current PAM vendors are CyberArk, Delinea, and Beyond Trust can now be integrated. So now you can get all that information going into Defender for Identity to be analyzed, verified, and look at potential attacks against PAM solutions. So I think that's quite powerful as well, bringing removing some of your blind spots maybe into one system there. So that's it for Defender for Identity. The Defender XDR portal itself, you can now in preview contain IP addresses of undiscovered devices. So this is slightly different on top of your, when you discover a device, and it's an asset, I think it's fair to say, within the devices section of Defender XDR. You have to actually do that discovery, but I suppose if you've got endpoints not scanning certain environments, or something isn't being detected and discovered, you can now contain the IP address or addresses. So yeah, that's the next, I guess, iteration of that.
Yeah, great response mechanism, that's for sure.
Yeah, we've got an OAuth app info table now available in Advanced Hunting. So it contains all the 365 connected OAuth apps registered in Entra, based on the governance capability. So now you can see, you can quickly do queries against them, things like that. Or I guess if you've got an app ID somewhere in one of the other tables, maybe your sign-in logs, things like that, you can actually go and pull some more data from that side to enrich your query, your output from that side. And in preview, kind of what we announced or talked about at Microsoft Secure, you can now create data security investigations. So which then in effect allows you to, well, if an instance identifying potential data leakage or data breach, you can now do a more integrated investigation into moving into Purview to then work out what data's been touched or what's been exposed, so you can identify whether the crown jewels of data has gone, or it's just the internal policy or something, something that's not too business critical at that point. Moving on. So unified security operations platforms, that's the integration of Defender XDR and Sentinel and things like that. Multi-workspace and multi-tenant support for Microsoft Sentinel now is in preview, so being able to bring multiple of those into the XDR portal, as well as cross-cloud multi-tenant management. So this is allowing you to go into the other government cloud environments as well as part of that. Case management is now generally available within the the unified security operations platform. Okay, next, Microsoft Sentinel. So probably moving on to that. Security Copilot can now generate instance summaries in Sentinel in the Azure portal, which is quite interesting. As considering we're seeing everything sort of move into the Defender XDR portal. Same update about the multi-tenant, multi-cloud side of things. Microsoft Sentinel now ingests all sticks, objects, and indicators into the new threat intelligence table. So I'm assuming that previously it was going into, I suppose what you could say, the old table there. So all your queries had to be, I suppose, go across multiple tables there. Is now being integrated into a single place. And I think that is it. Let's just double check. Yep. Purview. Okay. Purview. Administrative units are in preview where you can add SharePoint sites to them. This services into the DLP policies. So this allows you to specify, instead of having to work out which SharePoint sites you want to maybe target, you're now using administrative units to identify the groups of SharePoint sites and services. So if you've got an administrative unit for finance or HR, and they've got in effect all their SharePoint sites attached to that admin unit, you can now easily target SharePoint sites. So I think that's quite powerful, isn't it, Sam? I think it's probably quite difficult to do DLP based on an area without having to go through and add all the SharePoint sites in manually. I think that's right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this administrative units are supported in quite a lot of other areas of DLP, isn't it? Where it's at least been in preview for a long time. So yeah, if we're getting it there as well, that's gonna definitely helps reduction of policies.
That's cool. So they're in data loss prevention. In preview, there is some things around advanced label-based protections. So enhance productivity for users that label encryption file types other than Office and PDF by using Microsoft Purview Protection Client. So, yeah, be able to do text files, DWG files, if as well as pictures. Now, there's some enhanced parts to that. And in preview, there's additional coverage for Copilot chats and Copilot apps in the DLP policies, so be able to specify what they can do. As we mentioned, data security investigations are in preview. There's quite a few bits in here. So under data security posture management for AI, it's now generally available, or generally, the general availability. It's been so the data assessment's now been renamed to data risk assessment. Okay. The default weekly assessment is now GA, while custom ones are still in preview. The data assessment now supports on-demand classification as a remediation action to scanning for sensitive information in SharePoint, OneDrive. Let's just check if there's anything else. Sensitive labels. I could have sworn I talked about this last time. Sensitive labels got dynamic watermarks. Oh, it's now generally available rather than preview. That's what it is. Same thing with protecting meetings with sensitive labels. That's now GA. So yeah, there's quite a few things there. Right, what's next? Defender for endpoints. Yeah, okay, so Defender for endpoint, kind of reiterating the containing IP addresses. So it's done on Defender for endpoint itself as well. There are just working this out. Yeah, okay. That's right. It said it was saying generally available attack surface reduction rules. I was thinking to Sam. I was thinking, I'm sure they're already GA.
What just ASR rules in general? You mean?
Yeah, that's what it looked like. It's just a full stop going GA ASR rules. It's like okay. Did I miss something? But no, there's 2 new ASR rules that have now gone GA. So that's why. So blocking reboot machine in safe mode, so being able to prevent that from the device when it's logged in. So that's to prevent someone then trying to hack the machine physically. That is when they're next to it, and block use of copied or impersonated system tools. So this is stopping things that it sort of impersonate, copy paste, snippet tools, things like that. We've also got a GA for Defender for endpoint support for ARM64 based Linux servers. ARM64 based Linux servers across various distributions, including Ubuntu, Red Hat, Debian, SUSE Linux, Amazon Linux, Oracle Linux. All products capabilities are supported on AMD 64 devices are now supported on ARM64 Linux. So that's quite good. That's a push that way. And that was it for Defender for endpoint. Defender for cloud apps. So OAuth app information is now available in attack paths. So you now see potential attack paths for OAuth apps, or as part of attack path, you see those OAuth apps and potentially then what get my words out. What potential access a user or device might have to applications where OAuth is the authentication. I talked about the OAuth app info table being added to the Defender XDR Advanced Hunting. There's a new application page in Defender XDR which consolidates all the SaaS and OAuth connection in a single pane. So it's in the inventory side of things. So now you've got devices, identities, and applications. It's in preview. So yeah, that's quite a good one as well. It also shows you, I believe, the discovered applications via Cloud Discovery, and then highlights on them when they are. There's a flag for, in effect, saying it's protected, which means it's been integrated into Defender for Cloud Apps for visibility, for the additional sort of view of it. So yeah, it's bringing more data into that new sort of view. Moving on, just checking this time whether the Global Secure Access client has any updates. It's more bug fixes and things like that in there. Yep, it's just general bug fixes, things like that at the moment. Apart from obviously the preview of the new category in Internet Access for generative AI. Right, Microsoft Entra. So, moving from our sort of announcements last week, public preview of the conditional access optimization agent in Microsoft Entra. So, being able to it to constantly run to identify gaps and things like that within your conditional access to then recommend changes or additional policies. So that is now public preview. I believe you've got to have at least but at least one SCU or security copilot enabled to be able to use it. We've got public preview of conditional access what if evaluation API. So I'm guessing this means that you can programmatically send a policy to this API, and it will tell you, or at least a user, and I suppose the criteria of an authentication against Entra to identify which conditional access policies would trigger. So that's quite good as well. Let's just look. So you can in public preview you can manage refresh tokens for mover and leaver scenarios. So new customer configure lifecycle workflow tasks to automatically revoke tokens when they move or leave the organization. That's quite a good one. So you change job role, all your sessions are nuked. So if you did have access to something that's not in your job role now, you now don't. Makes sense. Okay, I think that's probably me, apart from Intune, which I forgot to get up. Let's just quickly see what's in here. Just see if there's anything worth talking about. There's a few things in here. Update device configuration template for Windows delivery optimization. So there's now one just for delivery optimization, targeted at Windows 10 and 11. So being able to pull updates and things like that from trusted machines next to you on the same network and subnet, things like that. I don't think there's too much more in here. Is it still April? Yeah, there's a new. Okay, so for device security, there's new settings added to the Windows security baseline for 24H2. Pre-existing baseline is a new one. So, what's been added? So, audit clients does not support that do not support encryption. Does not support signing. Insecure guest logon. There's quite a few in here. Max SMB to dialect. Enable dynamic signature drop events reporting. Comes under Defender. So yeah, I think that's probably me done in a whistle-stop tour. I mean, I haven't included Security Copilot in this, but new agents have come out and potentially a new mechanism for the billing mechanism for them is now changed as well. So the billing mechanism changed to you have a minimum SCU that you specify, and then then on top of that you specify how much you can burst every hour above that. So you can always set it to 1 SCU, and then you can say I want to be able to burst up to 3. I think it is when you in effect pre-commit to a month or to the hour of a minimum. I think it's at the moment $4 per hour. I think, but anything that goes over the burstable is deemed as $6. I think it's $6 per SCU per hour. So a little bit more for the bursting, but again, if you're not using it heavily, or maybe your minimum is 3, and then you want to be able to burst up to 7, maybe because of an instant or something like that. You've got that flexibility.
Wow, the burst is more expensive. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's more kind of. I guess it kind of makes sense. It's almost like committing versus pay as you go, isn't it? Almost from that side.
I suppose, but you don't. You don't.
I know.
For other types of workloads, you don't pay more when you burst, do you?
No.
So I don't know. That is. I get what you're saying there with the pay as you go versus the commit. I suppose that does make sense from a license
yeah, I mean,
but you are
you're
buying.
You're not yearly committing though. You're just committing to at least one SE for that whole hour, aren't you? Rather than 3 or 5, aren't you? So they have to be flexible for that burst, don't they? I suppose.
Yeah, and the burst does have an automation aspect to it, though, right? You don't have to manually scale up and scale down, do you? There is that automatic.
Correct. I mean, you still could technically scale down to 1 SEU overnight that's committed, and then burstable up to 5 maybe in case there's an incident overnight, and then increase it at 9 o'clock in the morning to maybe 2 or 3, whatever your workload is. If that makes sense in the daytime. So there's still potential additional automation there to work that out, maybe to optimize still.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think that is me on that side. What about you, Sam? You said you got a few tabs open.
I do. I will. Yeah, I'll just preface this that there was a lot of Azure Kubernetes service updates. So I'm just going to give you a TLDR. Go and check the update list because I haven't included any of them because there were ones that I wanted to, and there's some really good like Cilium networking updates that are in there, which are actually quite important to look at, I would say. So there, essentially, right early April, there were just a ton of Azure Kubernetes service updates. So I'm not going to go through them because it isn't a product that I actually use, and even though I do use Kubernetes, but I don't use Azure Kubernetes service, so it's not really relevant to me, if that makes sense. But yeah, lots of updates there. That team is obviously on an absolute roll. I'll start with Defender for Cloud. Okay, so there are enhancements for the Defender for App Service alerts. So it was announced in early April, but it actually went live on the 30th of April. So by the time you're listening to this, these are now live. Defender for App Service alerting capabilities have been enhanced. There are now alerts for suspicious code executions and access to internal or remote endpoints from app service apps. They've also improved coverage and reduced noise for other types of alerts that may have been noisy. So one alert that has been deprecated is a suspicious WordPress theme invocation detected will be deprecated. I assume that I've never seen that alert because I've never run WordPress in app service, but I assume that's been deprecated now because maybe it was unnecessary or noisy. There's now general availability for the API Security Posture Management native integration with Defender CSPM plan. So what this does is it gives you an unified inventory of your APIs along with posture insights, from API management. So that now is generally available with the CSPM plan as well. There's new risk factors that have been added as well. So risk factors such as unauthenticated APIs, so APIs that allow anonymous access, APIs that are APIs that are not allowing lacking encryption, and also you can also see APIs that have been mapped back to any connected Kubernetes ingress and virtual machines as well. So you get end-to-end attack path analysis to those connected systems as well. There's now a new default cap on upload. There's a new default cap for on-upload and malware scanning in Microsoft Defender for storage. The default cap for on-upload malware scanning was 5,000 gigabytes, and that has now been updated to 10,000 gigabytes. This new cap applies in the following scenarios. So new subscriptions where Defender for storage is enabled for the first time, and re-enabled subscriptions, so where it was previously disabled and now re-enabled.
So is that 5 terabytes and 10 terabytes in effect then?
Sorry, yeah, 5. Yeah, it's weird because it's
roughly.
Yeah.
It's not quite I suppose a terabyte in a.
Isn't that 5 tibbybytes? Anyway, I don't know. But I think a tibbybyte is I don't know. Anyway, yeah, 5 terabytes and 10 terabytes ish. Okay. What was the next one? There is an update for Defender for SQL servers on machine plan. So they're gradually releasing an enhanced agent solution for this plan. This agent-based solution eliminates the need to deploy Azure Monitor Agent and instead uses the existing SQL infrastructure. So it's designed to make the onboarding process easier and also improve protection coverage as well. So you need to apparently update your plan configuration. I assume that's actually in Defender for Cloud itself. And then you need to verify the SQL Server instance protection status on there as well. You may call out, you might experience a billing increase if additional SQL Server instances are protected with your enabled Defender for SQL on machines plan. So there is a call out in the notes just to watch for that as well. Defender for Cloud. There's a preview for a Defender for Cloud integration with Mend.io. So Mend provides loads of different. I want to say they've got lots of different security and vulnerability management pieces of software. I've absolutely butchered their sales pitch, but they're a security vendor, and there is now an integration with Mend in Defender for Cloud if that's a product that you use. That's all I wanted to cover on Defender for Cloud, even though there is a Defender for Cloud-ish type update in the Azure update. So I don't know what. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get there because we've got a few tabs to go through first. Warning, retirement. Log Analytics Batch API to be retired on March the 31st, 2028. Heads up, everyone. So yeah, you've been given warning for the Batch API. The Log Analytics Beta API is to be retired on March the 31st, 2026. After that date, apparently, queries will just no longer work at that point. They're saying you should move to the standard request API format ahead of that time, but that one's only in a year's time. What was the next one? There's now a public preview for Azure Front Door for you to configure your own custom cipher suites. Azure Front Door currently offers several predefined TLS policies that you can configure with your Azure Front Door. But you can also build custom TLS policies now. So you can have complete control over the minimum TLS protocol version to support, and as well as the supported cipher suites that you want to support. So there's a public preview for that rolled out now. Good news. Microsoft DevBox is now available in Spain Central. I didn't even know there was a Spain central region. Anyway, but Microsoft DevBox is now available there. There's now a public preview for increased VNet limits for private endpoints. They're calling them high-scale private endpoints. You're now able to increase the Azure private endpoints default limits for local and peered virtual networks. Currently, today, you were only able to deploy 1,000 private endpoints within a singular virtual network. You can now deploy up to 4,000 private endpoints. The higher limits are higher than that. It can now go up to 5,000 in a singular VNet. So that's from 1,000 to 5,000, and 20,000 across your peered virtual networks. This feature is available in West Central US, UK South, East Asia, US East, US North, and more will become online throughout the public preview. God help you if you need that limit.
I was going to say, you're going to need a few services there, aren't you?
God help you. I pray for you. Microsoft Copilot in Azure is now generally available. Copilot capabilities within Azure. I don't know how long that's been in preview. It feels like a long time, to be totally honest with you. But it's now GA. No, that's fine. I'm going to leave that. There's a public preview for Azure Functions for a durable task scheduler. It's a new storage provider for durable functions. So what it essentially allows you to do is bring your own storage options into Azure Functions. What this does is it gives you a managed backend solution, but it's really for customers that require high performance, enhanced monitoring, or being able to bring your own storage accounts into Azure durable Azure Functions. So that's going to be interesting to see. That's something I'm definitely going to check out. This was the one that was a little bit linked back to Defender for Cloud. So there's a private preview for advanced threat detection capability in Azure Backup. But it's powered apparently by Defender for Cloud. So the feature enables you to assess the health of Azure VM backups by identifying healthy and suspicious base signals from Microsoft Defender for endpoint real-time scans conducted as part of Microsoft Defender for servers plans. Azure Backup looks for specific disruption and heuristic behavior-based signals from MDE, which indicate that a backup data is suspicious with ransomware. But strange because it's a private preview, but on the Azure update list, it's got a sign-up form. So, public knowledge. So Azure NetApp, there's a public preview for Azure NetApp files, file access logs. It gives you a detailed logging of file access activities, including user identity, operation types, timestamps, enhanced security, reliability, and operational insights. It supports SMB, NFS version 4.1, and dual protocol volumes. Cool. It's going to give you valuable features for monitoring unauthorized access, tracing activity for compliance, resolving incidents, and optimizing data usage patterns. That's definitely cool. Now generally available, I/O performance analysis for SQL Server on Azure virtual machines. it's essentially a feature within the Azure portal that helps to optimize SQL Server workloads by identifying I/O performance bottlenecks caused by virtual machines or disk throttling. Because performance analysis of SQL Server can be quite tricky to sort of diagnose and identify what is actually causing, the real issue. So any tools that are available for that is definitely a benefit there. Next one, now generally available, support for managed identity-based authentication flows in Azure load testing. So Azure load testing now supports simulating managed identity-based authentication flows in load tests. So you can use managed identities to do authentication whilst you're doing those tests. Now generally available, Microsoft Azure is now available from a new cloud region in Indonesia. It's the first cloud region in Indonesia, and it's also got Azure high availability zones. So yeah, it's really interesting. So to see compute and Azure capability in Indonesia. It's called the Indonesia Central Region. So yeah, so it's always great to see them bringing on new regions. Okay, what's now also generally available is the concept of Performance Plus for Azure Disk Storage. So what this does is it enhances the IOPS and throughput performance of premium SSD, standard SSD, and good old standard hard disk drives. But they do have to be sized at 513 gigabytes or larger. Yeah.
Bit specific.
Performance Plus it's so close to 512 gig, isn't it? It's like it's a typo. Performance Plus is offered for free and is available to use through deployments on Azure command line interfaces, PowerShell, and the Azure portal. So like, is that 513 just a really horrible limit so that you have to go from a 512 gig disk to something bigger?
Terabyte.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna do that one either. Oh, that's a duplicate. Sorry, I have them all like loaded up, and sometimes I've got dupes. Now in public preview, there is rule-based routing in Azure Container Apps. So that allows you to direct incoming HTTP traffic to different apps within your container apps based on the requested host name or path. It includes support for custom domain names as well. So instead of having to configure a separate reverse proxy, such as Nginx or Traffic or Caddy, you can now provide routing rules for your environment, and incoming traffic will automatically be routed to specific target apps, which is cool because Azure Container Apps is a really quick way to fire up containers, but you don't have some of the niceties that you have with Kubernetes. So having this type of routing in place is, really, really good to see. Now generally available, I think I talked about this last time, the Azure SQL trigger for Azure Functions. Oh no, I talked about Postgres, I think, so now generally available, Azure SQL trigger for Azure Functions in a consumption plan. So you can now build application logic in Azure Function Apps consumption plans that can scale apps to 0 and up, driven by data changes in Azure SQL databases. Very cool change, this. So yeah, definitely.
I think it was MySQL.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So really good to see this, especially in the consumption plan as well. Oh, good news. Azure Data Box devices. They are now generally available, the new version of them. So we talked about this. Well, we shouldn't we? Should I just order one? Anyway. So there were two capabilities here. So there were the V. Do they call them V2? They just called them the next generation ones. They were actually launched at Ignite. They were that important to Microsoft. They were launched at Ignite. So these were better, more ruggedized, refreshed hardware for Azure DataBox. Azure DataBox is a service where you essentially get sent a literal data box, which could actually be like a trolley thing, wasn't it? It was like it came on a pallet, basically. It's basically a device that you fill up with data, you send it back in the post to Microsoft, and they will ingest it into Azure for you without you having to do that over the wire. So they come in various sizes, but those next generation ones are now generally available. And I did also speak when we first talked about it that there's now cross-region data transfer capability with it. It was always constrained to a single region before, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was a single region. So now you can span cross regions as well, but that capability is also GA now as well.
Yeah, wasn't it that you had? It was the region that you were in effect, your closest DC or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So it was good for you to upload to your current region, but if you did want to, upgrade and move data, you would then have to transfer, in the cloud. So you can. I'm not sure all regions. It might just be the region pairings. I can't remember. There might have been some restrictions about where you can go, but I don't have that detail now. Now generally available is Instance Mix for virtual machine scale sets. So this allows you to specify multiple virtual machine sizes within a single virtual machine scale set to give you greater flexibility and cost efficiency with your workloads. So that is now generally available. So Alan, I've got a little game for you on this one. I only included this one because I think I could make a game out of it. I would like you to tell me what this type of virtual machine does by its name. It's the Azure NVADS V710 V5 series virtual machine. Let me help you out. It's designed for lightweight AI inferencing and graphics-intensive applications. It uses high-performance AMD Radeon Pro V710 GPUs and fourth-generation AMD EPYC CPUs. They're tailored for small to medium artificial intelligence or machine learning inference workloads, virtual desktop infrastructure visualization, I assume. Oh, and no, and the last thing is, and cloud gaming workloads. That's what I was just about to call out, that virtual desktop infrastructure was going to be cloud gaming. So you could start off with 1/6 of a GPU with 4 gigabytes of memory. Or you can go to a full V710 GPU with a massive 28 gig of memory for engineering applications or AI.
What's that, £400 an hour?
I don't know. You can get some extra bonus points if you want to look it up. NV V710 V5s. I'll click on the learn more, actually. Let's just quickly, I'll see if I can.
What is it, NV?
NV ADS V710 V5. I only included it, really, because it had that name.
Okay. I'll see if I can find out.
Okay. Right. Now generally available, there is an Azure firewall integration in Security Copilot. So here are the sorts of things that you can get with that. Retrieve the top IDPS signature hits for Azure Firewall. get log information about the traffic intersected by the IDPS feature instead of constructing KQL queries manually, enrich threat profiles of IDPS signatures beyond log information. So get additional details to enrich the threat intelligence and profiles of those signatures instead of compiling it yourself. Look for a given IDPS signature across your tenant, subscription, or resource groups. Provide a fleet-wide search over any scope for a threat across all of your firewalls instead of searching for threats manually. And generate recommendations to secure your environment using Azure Firewall's IDPS feature. So get information from the documentation about that feature and how best to secure it instead of looking at it manually. That's pretty cool. There's now a public preview for an inbound private endpoint for Azure API Management Standard v2. This allows customers to be able to enable inbound traffic to API management over a private IP from their virtual network. Use Azure Private Link to route traffic via the Microsoft backbone, avoid public internet exposure. And you can apply policies to between different traffic sources as well. Loads of other functionality there. I'm just giving you a brief overview because I've been nattering on for too long. No, I don't need to talk about that one. There's now a public preview for Azure Web Application Firewall with Capture Challenge for Azure Front Door. So what this can do is this can, in real time, add an adaptive layer of protection to ensure that legitimate users are accessing applications while blocking harmful automated traffic. So it's a bot mitigation strategy built directly into Azure Front Door. I've seen this with things like Cloudflare and other CDN products as well. So it's good to see it's coming on the Front Door side. It's now a public preview for Azure Virtual Network Terminal Access Point, or TAP. It allows you to set up a TAP via the service. So it's agentless, transparent traffic mirroring without having to alter any of your topology. It has zero performance impact on VMs. Mirrored traffic does not count against VM bandwidth. And broad compatibility with third-party security and monitoring tools because it's just TAP, allowing seamless integration into existing cybersecurity frameworks. There's a public preview for larger container sizes on Azure container instances. This setup supports virtual CPU counts greater than 4 and memory capacities of 16 gig. With now a maximum of 32 virtual CPUs and 256 gig of memory per standard container group, and 32 vCores and 192 gigabytes of memory per confidential container group. So there's some big updates there. And my last update is the late April update for Azure SQL. The MS-SQL extension for Visual Studio Code now includes a schema compare in the April release. So it makes it easier to compare database schemas, identify differences, and apply updates across databases or files. Really cool feature this, because as you're developing like an application and you're putting data into like something like Azure SQL, as you deploy new versions of your application, you may want to compare the schema, which is like the format of your data, and any changes that you might need to make. So that's a really cool feature. And there are actually some dedicated applications out there that actually do that. So to have that as part of that extension is really powerful. And that's me done. Did you find the NVADS V710 V5 VM pricing page, Alan?
I did.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
Okay,
so the reason why it's interesting is that one of the higher SKUs is cheaper than the lowest SKU. which kind of blows my mind a little bit, but I guess it's just the split. But the 4 CPU and 16 gig of RAM, and then a 6th or a processor of the accelerator and 4 gigs of accelerated memory is $1.16 per hour on pay-as-you-go. So that's $847.5 a month.
Wow, that's expensive. Okay, yeah.
So the next one up, which is 8 virtual cores, 32 gig RAM, and a third. Let me just check. A third of the accelerator and 8 gig of RAM in the GPU, or the accelerator, is 79 cents per hour. For some reason.
What?
Yeah, according to the Azure calculator, of course. But
okay.
That's what it's saying.
Okay.
12 cores, 64 gig, and I think half a accelerator is $1.72 an hour, which is just under $1,300 a month. You've got the 24 CPU, 128 gig of RAM, and I think this one's one full. Let's just check. Yeah, one full accelerator card. That is $3.48 per hour. And then the last one, which is 28 cores, 160 gig of RAM, one accelerator card, is $4.14. Yeah, interesting. And the top ones, apart from the last one, you can all have reservations on and get 45% discount if you commit to 3 years, but not the last tier.
Okay.
So, yeah, random.
Cool. Right, that's our Azure updates for this month.
Cool.
What's our next episode? Is that your episode, Alan? The next one?
Right. Yeah, I guess it is if you're claiming the secure score. Microsoft Secure for your for your one that we both participated in. But yeah, okay. So we haven't done it yet, and it's kind of a hot topic, and I think I've got enough intel now around it. But I'm going to look at doing Security Copilot and maybe sort of how it's used, with the new updates, maybe. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it will be Security Copilot. I'll do my best to do it justice, maybe some of the scenarios where it can help, and try to give an understanding of how the security consumer units, SCUs, kind of work as well.
Cool.
So,
sounds good.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, I think. It's definitely a lot to talk about with it. So, but yeah. So, did you enjoy this episode? If so, please do consider leaving us a review on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. That really helps us reach out to more people like yourselves. If you do have any feedback or episode suggestions, we have a link in our show notes, or put a comment on our YouTube video, audio.
Cool. Yeah, and if you've made it this far, thanks ever so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks all.